BookTV recently visited Capitol Hill to ask members of Congress what they're reading this summer.
Well, the books I plan on going through each fit some kind of desire I have or hobby or fetish. So my staffer actually was going around an old bookshop and he found a book that was by Joe Cannon, who is one of the 4 great speakers of the House. And it's actually written in first person, but it was written by his secretary, his staff person. So I'm going to look at that because it's fascinating about what it was like, just the history of this body. At the same time, there was another book by Akhil Amar, which deals with the Constitution. It's called The Constitution, a Biography. And in that, it talks about the language that was used in the Constitution, not necessarily original intent, but what the words meant at the time. And I actually saw him on an interview on C-SPAN a while ago. It was a fascinating interview. He's a very liberal, but has written something that I think conservatives also will like at the same time with that particular book. There's also another one that Jim Buckley finished writing, the former senator, who's in his 90s now, entitled Saving Congress from Itself, which is a philosophy about the significance and the importance of the concept of federalism, which I still think is the principle that if we're going to save this country, that's the principle that will actually do it. And finally, I'm a big baseball fan, so there is one called The Code that I'm going to read, and it's the concept in baseball about why there are unwritten rules and how they are enforced. Why in some motion, and sometimes you can show up a player and sometimes you'll be retaliated against if you actually show up a player. Because that same unwritten rule functions here in the House at the same time. There are some things you do and some things you don't do, and there are ways in which we self-enforce those rules. So I think the interplay is going to be interesting for me.
And BookTV wants to know what you're reading this summer. Tweet us your answer at BookTV, or you can post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BookTV.